My name is Patrick Barnett, and today I am presenting my senior project, Purchase Order Program 2.0. The project problem was to build a better tool for tracking internal purchase orders at Klamath Health Partnership. As a former employee of Klamath Health Partnership, I was aware of the old purchase order program, but my level of understanding from my time there as an employee was purely from the technical side of the program in supporting users. Does it launch? Can it read the database file? Can it print? That was about it. I never had to actually use it to create purchase orders. I just had to make sure other people could. But even with that limited interaction with the old purchase order program, some shortcomings were obvious. It was custom built for them nearly 20 years ago, and the source code has long since been lost. So there was no way to perform any adaptive maintenance, and the program has long stopped accurately reflecting the current structure of the business. Departments that no longer exist can't be removed or made inactive, and new departments can't be added. The UI doesn't adjust well to screens bigger than 800 by 600 resolution. Even getting it to run on Windows 10 involves manually copying several DLLs into the program's folder. And the location of the database file is hard-coded to a network share that everyone has access to. These programs were the genesis of my Purchase Order 2.0 senior project. But I knew the limits of what I knew about the program, meaning I didn't know what people actually used it for and what improvements could be made to the overall experience of working with purchase orders. So I scheduled interviews with key employees that use the purchase order program every day. Through these interviews about the whole process of working with purchase orders, beyond just what they did with the current PO program, several ways of increasing productivity through features in the new PO program were discovered. For people that only use the program to create purchase orders, I found they often need to create several purchase orders for the same transaction with a vendor if the purchase from a vendor included items for multiple departments. So PO 2.0 includes the ability to individually assign each purchased item to a department instead of only the entire purchase order to a department. From the purchasing agents, who are the people primarily responsible for keeping KHP's clinics stocked, I found that there was no way to track which purchases had been received. They were printing out purchase orders after creating them and keeping them in a binder, and then just putting check marks on them when they came in. PO 2.0 includes the ability for purchasing agents to mark a PO complete and see which orders have not yet been received yet. From the accounts payable supervisor, I found that purchasing agents routinely submit the same purchase orders for reconciliation against bank statements because there's no way for the purchasing agents to track which POs they've already turned in. So PO 2.0 includes the ability to mark a PO submitted for reconciliation and search for which POs have not yet been submitted for reconciliation. From the CEO/CEFO, I found that they would routinely spend hours going through every purchase order to track which ones have been charged against grants. And then they would need to compile a list of those purchases to submit to the grant originating organization to prove that the grant money was spent on items appropriate for the grant. PO 2.0 allows for purchases to be marked as part of a grant when the purchase order is created, and then for these purchases to be exported from the program. PO 2.0 has all of these additional productivity features while still addressing all the original technical shortcomings. Because PO 2.0 is a web app, it requires no local installation. It can run on anything with a reasonably modern web browser, from phones to tablets to laptops or desktops, regardless of OS. Through the use of responsive CSS, the UI scales across different device resolutions. The database is in an SQL server where databases belong. Another problem with the old PO program was the lack of security. There was no effective way to limit the creation of purchase orders. Anyone with the program installed on their computer could assign purchases to any department, and even edit and delete old purchase orders from any department. Without even any malicious intent, someone with the program on the computer could accidentally wreak havoc if they didn't know if they were using it incorrectly. Thus, management has been very reticent about giving access to the program, even to users who may benefit from the ability to create or review purchase orders for their department. PO 2.0 solves this by allowing read, edit, and review level permissions for each department. For each user, a medical assistant in Chiloquin can now create POs for supplies in Chilliwack without also being able to delete a purchase order for dental at the South 6th Street location, as an example. This should result in an overall greater use of the PO program across the organization. But the greatest advancement in the PO program is now authorized users can perform adaptive maintenance themselves. Users with the admin or purchasing agent role can create departments, inactivate departments, create grants, inactivate grants, assign permissions to users, delete users, and so on. It's very highly configurable for purchasing agents and admins. Altogether, PO 2.0 weighs in at over 3,200 lines of code with a high maintainability index of 75. But it's hard to get a feel for it when zoomed in on each little part. So let's leave PowerPoint and give a quick, more general overview of its use. So this is the login page where people will log in, or they can create an account for themselves. When they create an account, they don't have permissions to create or edit or review POs for any department, so it doesn't matter until they are assigned the permissions by a purchasing agent. And then this is the main screen you get when you log in. You see you can create new POs, you can review POs, you can edit POs, the reporting area, the purchasing agent area, and the admin area. Let's go over it real quick. Here's where you'd create new POs. And you create multiple items. And this little fill in missing button is great because it will automatically fill in any missing items. If two of them are there, it'll calculate the third and update the total. And as I was showing before, you can assign each thing to its own department and its own grant if you wish, and then submit. Up here of note is that the purchase order number is displayed before you create the purchase order. This was specifically asked for in testing so that if a vendor asks for your PO number to put onto the bill, you have it available before creating the purchase order. So if we review purchase orders, we can see, and these all sort, we can see the one we just made with all that stuff in there. And what's great about this is each one of these little data grids also has these export to Excel and print selected PO options. Print sends it off to a special CSS or to a page with CSS for printing and formats them in a way where they look good printed out and puts one on each page. And export to Excel isn't just a simple CSV, it is a full XLSX file. And there you can see it's got all the purchase order stuff there, and it will show you in reports that this actually will print out in a different format depending on the intended use. Of course, edit POs, right? So if this PO we just made, no, these are actually $3 for the ice cream. And then, oops, looks like we didn't get that correct because we changed the total. I'll fill in missing and it'll update our total, submit changes. And over here in reporting, right, we can say, well, what were all the ones assigned to this radon grant from all departments and all payment sources? You can see the one we just made there. If we want to take a closer look, we can click on it and drill down, or we can go ahead and do the export. You'll see that from the reports page, it formats them in a way that's more appropriate for manipulating inside of Excel. Purchase agent area, right? So there's the mark complete, and each one of these has a great little bit here. I try to include this stuff as much as possible, where there are instructions for each bit, so you can hide the instructions and show the instructions, and sort of gives a reminder of what this section of the area does for you. manage grants, payments, right? So if you needed to add a different credit card, you could add it in there. Which leaves the admin area, which is, admin stuff, right? It's mostly boring. If you need to make a user an admin or take a user away from the admin, if you need to delete a department, that's saved for admins. And if there's already, as described in the notes here, if a department has no purchase assigned to it, it just deletes it because there's no point in saving it. But if a department has purchases assigned to it and you delete it, it will move it down into this inactive departments area. So old POs aren't affected. And if you ever needed to, you can reactivate the department, and there it's back into the facilities. A deactivated department is as good as a deleted department in that nobody can create anything associated with it anymore. But it still leaves it there so that you have the old POs associated with it. That's the same for grants. If you need to change a user's password, you can, although users can change their own passwords. And you can also delete and make a new user. Although, again, users can make themselves. But if you make them on the admin page, the difference is, as described in the notes here, it's not limited to kodfp.org emails as they are when using the registration page on the home page, and it automatically marks their email as confirmed so that they can reset their own password if they forget it. So that is PO 2.0. I'm pretty sure I'm over my 10 minutes, so I am going to go ahead and end my recording. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.